Hello students, today I am going to do a quick revision of electrochemistry, okay, with previous year NEET questions. See how many questions I have selected. So for each question I am going to explain the concept behind it. Okay, before that I'm going to give you a brief introduction, the important tricks and tips you must know. Okay, so what is electrochemistry, students? It is a field that deals with the current and the chemistry. Okay, so we can divide into two cells. Okay, electrochemistry, we have two kinds of cells. What are they? Electrochemical cell and electrolytic cell. So what is electrochemical cell? When we do a reaction, okay, from that reaction you will get electricity. Okay, so for some reaction in electrolytic cell it is opposite, it is exactly the opposite. So for some reaction to happen you have to pass current so that the reaction will happen. Okay, so that is the basic difference. Okay, so what is the electrochemical cell? The most famous, the important example is the galvanic cell. And when zinc rod is dipped in zinc sulfate solution and copper in copper sulfate solution, what happens, students? Without applying any external force, your electrons will start to travel from the zinc to copper compartment, from here to here. So what happens? Where these electrons came from? Here, from zinc sulfate, your Zn or your zinc metal, okay, it oxidizes to Zn2 plus ions. Okay, so it travels, electrons travels from the anode compartment to the cathode compartment, whereby here the Cu2 plus in copper sulfate gets these two electrons and get reduced to copper. Okay, so we call this as an anodic compartment and this as the cathodic compartment. Okay, this is the anodic compartment and cathodic compartment. So in a galvanic cell, where the electron travels usually from the anode to the cathode, and where the current flows, students, you must know, in the opposite direction. In a galvanic cell the current flows in the opposite direction, that is from cathode to anode. So these are the some kind of questions they can ask. Okay, so now to know the overall EMF of the cell. Okay, so to know the overall EMF of the cell, we apply formulas. So if the cell is at standard condition, what is standard condition? You know, when the electrolytes, the concentration of the electrolytes are 1 molar. Okay, when the pressure is equal to 1 atmosphere and the temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, when it measured at this these conditions, this is standard condition. Okay, so we can apply 3 set of formulas, but I have written only 2 formulas. Okay, so the overall EMF of the cell can be found out by EMF of the cathodic compartment minus the EMF of the anodic compartment, standard reduction potential of cathode minus standard reduction potential of anode, provided what is the condition? Both are having the reduction potentials. Mostly we will be using this formula only. Okay, but you have to know the other formula also. So what is the other formula? The total EMF of the cell, if the oxidation potential is given, it is the standard electrode potential of the anode minus standard electrode potential of the cathode. Okay, so you must know these importance. So the second thing, if it is not under the standard condition, if it is not measured at standard condition, okay, not at standard condition, what formula we are going to use? We are going to use the Nernst equation. So if it is not measured at 25 degrees Celsius at the particular pressure, we are going to use this formula. Okay, 059 divided by n, the number of electrons involved. Okay, so this is log concentration of the product divided by concentration of the reactant. Okay, so to measure the EMF of the cell not at the standard condition, we are going to use this Nernst equation. Okay, and one more thing you need to know in electrochemistry is, okay, the notation of the electrode potentials. They will not give you all the time that this is a reduction potential, this is oxidation potential. From the notation you need to find out whether it is an oxidation or a reduction potential. So how it is? See, M to Mn plus, they will give like that. So for I have written in the general formula. See here the oxidation state is 0 and here it is Mn plus, so it has been oxidized. So this conversion is oxidized. So this is an oxidation potential. This is an oxidation potential, you must know. Okay, so they are giving the notation like this. Okay, from the oxidation state has been converted from Mn plus to 0 here, so it has been reduced. So this is what, this is a reduction potential. So these are the notation you must know. Okay, so every time you need not look for they will give the oxidation potential or reduction potential. Here see, find out students what it is. 3 plus 2, 2 plus. See, it has reduced, so it is reduction potential. See here, 2 plus is converted to 4 plus, so it has been increased, so it is oxidation potential. So by this way you have to find out another one more important thing. So what is the relation between the electrode potentials and how to find if a set of electrode potentials of various metals has been given and they are asking to find out the powerful oxidizing reagent, powerful reducing reagent. Okay, so how to find out from the electrode potentials? See, you know from the well-known example itself I am telling you. See, in a galvanic cell, what happens? The oxidation of zinc takes place, isn't it? Zinc oxidizes to give you 2 electrons, so it must be having what? Having higher oxidation potential. Okay, so here copper gets these 2 electrons. Okay, so and it get reduces, so it must have higher reduction potential. See, zinc oxidizes, so in another way I can tell, it supplies electrons to reduce copper, so I can say it is a reducing reagent. And I can say only because of this copper the zinc got oxidized. Okay, in absence of copper the zinc would not have got oxidized, so I can say the copper here act as an oxidizing reagent. So what is the trick, students? What is the trick? So higher the oxidation potential, your higher will be the reducing power of that particular metal. Higher the reduction potential. Okay, so higher will be the oxidizing power of that particular metal. So one more thing I needed to tell you here. See here, if they have given the value to be X volt. Okay, so this is an oxidation potential. Suppose for your problem you don't need the oxidation potential, you only need the reduction potential. Okay, so you need not wait for that. So what is this? What you have to do? So simply to get the reduction potential, same magnitude but reverse the sign, you will get the reduction potential. Okay students, so suppose they have given the oxidation potential, you need the reduction potential, don't worry. Okay, magnitude is same, just reverse the sign. Okay, that's all. Then one more thing what you need to know about this cell is, for a reaction to be, for a electrochemical cell, for a reaction to be spontaneous, always this E0 cell, okay, E cell has to be positive for a spontaneous reaction. Otherwise the reaction will not occur spontaneously, because here we are not supplying any external current, isn't it? It has to occur on its own. Okay, so the E cell must be positive for a reaction has to be spontaneous. Okay, so let's do problems based selected very important problems, students. So please watch the video without skipping, it will be very useful for you. Oh, so okay, for the first question, in the electrochemical cell. Okay, so this is your anode and this is a salt bridge and this is your cathode. The EMF of this Daniell cell is even when the concentration of zinc sulfate is changed to 1 molar to that of copper sulfate changed to 0.01 molar, the EMF changes to E2. So what is the relation between E1 and E2? So for this cell, so first initially there are two cases. Okay, so initially the concentration of zinc sulfate is 0.01 molar and copper sulfate is 1 molar. In case 2, what they have changed, the concentration of zinc sulfate to be 1 molar and copper sulfate to be zinc sulfate to 1 molar and copper sulfate to 0.01 molar. Okay, so we have to find the relation between E1 and E2. So what is the overall reaction that takes place, students? The overall reaction is zinc get oxidized and copper get reduced, and the number of electrons involved is equal to 2. Okay, so zinc, here also 2 electrons and here also 2 electrons, so N is equal to 2. So we have to write the Nernst equation for the case 1 and case 2. Okay, so they said the E cell, okay, was found to be E1 here, and this is your E0 cell, right? E0 cell, and 0.59 divided by 2, this is the N value, and log concentration of the product is zinc sulfate, zinc is in 2 plus, okay, so 0.01 divided by 1, and here what happens, here this is E2 and E0 cell equal E0 cell minus 0.059 divided by log here what happens, they just reversed the concentration. So what happens here, let's see E0 cell minus 0.59 divided by 2 log 0.01 is equal to minus 2, and here and E0 cell, okay, equal to 0.01. See here 0.01 can be written as 1 by 100. So when 100 comes over here, log 100 is equal to 2. So 2 cancels here, and here also 2 cancels here. But negative into negative is equal to positive. It gives you a positive quantity. It gives you a positive quantity. But here it gives you a negative quantity. Okay. So here, what can I say? E cell plus some amount and E0 cell minus some amount. Okay, so I can say E1 is greater than E2. So that is your answer. The relation between them is this one. Okay, so next coming to the second question. The oxidation potential of zinc, copper, silver, hydrogen, nickel are given. Oxidation potentials are given respectively. Which following reaction will provide maximum voltage? So for this, students, I told you for calculating the entire EMF of the cell, these two equations can be used. Since they have given the oxidation potential, I am going to use this equation. Okay, so the E0, the EMF of the anodic compartment minus the standard electrode potential of the cathode. Okay, both are provided, both are oxidation potential, since the oxidation potentials are given. See, I told you for a given equation, the E0 cell must be positive for a spontaneous reaction. If this value is very higher, then that reaction is very much feasible, maximum voltage. When you will get a maximum value here, when the electrode potential of the anode is very higher and the electrode potential of the cathode is very smaller, you will get a very big value, isn't it? Okay, so let's check. So we have to choose a very high potential for this value and very low potential for this value. Which is having very high potential, which value is very higher? 0.76, which belongs to zinc. Okay, so 0.76 minus, which is the very lowest value. So in this negative, this is a very lowest value, minus of 0.80, which is going to give you a very higher value. Okay, very higher value. So this one corresponds to zinc and this one corresponds to silver. So your zinc will form the anodic compartment and your silver will form the cathodic compartment. So by combining zinc and silver, you will get the maximum voltage. So this equation, zinc get oxidized and silver get reduced. Okay, students, the next question, from the values given below. Okay, so they have given the reduction potential. From this value, they have not given any potential, reduction potential oxidation potential from this notation we have to find out. See, 3 plus has been reduced to aluminum, and be careful students, sometimes they can change in between, they can change. See uniformly whether they have given reduction or standard. If they are something has changed, you change the value. I told you, no, just to change the sign, that's all. See, check whether everything is they are given the reduction potential. Sometimes they may change in order to confuse you. So here 0 and -1, so here also it has reduced. 0 to -1 is a reduction. Okay, so they have given the reduction potentials of aluminium, magnesium, copper and iodine. They are asking which is the very best oxidizing reagent. So what is the trick we have to use, students, to find out the oxidizing power? Higher the reducing potential, greater will be the oxidizing reagent. So which is having the highest reduction potential, which is having the highest, your iodine. So your iodine is the best oxidizing agent. Next question. A solution contains Fe2 plus, Fe3 plus and I minus ions. This solution was treated with iodine at 35 degrees Celsius. The electrode potential of Fe3 plus, so the reduction potential of iron is 0.77 volt and the reduction potential of iodine is 0.536 volt. What is the favorable redox reaction? So they are asking that given the electrode potential, reduction potential of these two things, they are asking whether which one will act as anode and which one will act as cathode. They are asking whether this reaction will take place or this reaction will take place. Either here your Fe3 plus is reduced, okay, and here this is oxidized, and in this reaction your Fe2 plus is oxidized and this has been reduced. Okay, which reaction will take place, they are asking. We are not going to supply any external energy, it has to occur spontaneously. So given that the reduction potential, so I am going to use this formula. For a reaction to be spontaneous, the E cell must be positive. So you have to choose. See, both are reduction potential. See, suppose if this is acting as cathode and this is acting as anode, so what value I will get? Directly substituting, I will get a positive value only. And suppose if I am going to take this as the cathode and this as the anode, so what, substitute this value, minus 0.77, it gives a negative value. So this is not possible, so this is possible. So your ion, this one has to be the cathode. It has to, in cathode what reduction takes place and here oxidation takes place. Okay, so this has to act as cathode and this has to act as anode. In anode oxidation takes place. So the option is iodine I minus will be oxidized to I2. So before solving the next set of questions, I would like to tell you some concepts. Okay, so now we are going to know about the relation between the Gibbs free energy and the EMF of the cell and the equilibrium constant. Okay, so the work done, okay, in an electrochemical cell, if it is in the standard condition, can be obtained by this equation. So del G naught, standard Gibbs free energy, change in Gibbs free energy is equal to minus NFE, where N is the number of electrons. Okay, so this is the number of electrons. Okay, F is the Faraday, you know, and E naught is the standard electrode potential of the cell. Okay, and if it is not in the standard condition, the change in Gibbs free energy is given by this formula. Okay, and this is the E cell. Okay, what you have to know is, okay, for a reaction to be spontaneous, for a spontaneous reaction, del G must be negative and you know the E cell must be positive. Okay, and one more condition what you have to know is, at equilibrium what happens? When the system attains equilibrium, okay, both becomes zero. You need to know this. Okay, and how to find the K equilibrium, and when this equation comes to use, we are all going to see that. Okay, so one more equation, that is del G is equal to minus 2.303 RT, okay, log log K equilibrium, this equation, okay, is also very useful. So okay, so when Gibbs free energy is change in Gibbs free energy is given, you can find out the EMF of the cell, or if you know the EMF of the cell, you can find out Gibbs free energy using this equation. Okay, and if you know the change in Gibbs free energy, so you can find out, so this is del G naught, so you can find out the K equilibrium, okay, the chemical equilibrium of the reaction. Okay, and one more important thing, you need to know some properties of this Gibbs free energy and the EMF of the cell. So what are they? Okay, so first of all, your Gibbs free energy change is a reversible property. What is this? Suppose for this equation it is x joules. Okay, the Gibbs free energy change is equal to x joules. For the reverse reaction, if you inverse this reaction, okay, it will give you, you can just reverse the sign, but the same magnitude. Okay, the same thing, reversible property. For the reverse reaction, E cell is equal to, for this reaction, if it is x volt, for the reverse reaction it is minus x volt. So both are reversible property. And your Gibbs free energy change is an extensive property. What it is? See, for this reaction, I told you the Gibbs free energy change is equal to x joules. Okay, if you multiply this reaction into 2, the Gibbs free energy will be 2x joules. Okay, it is quantitative, it is an extensive property, but this is not same with the EMF of the cell, because it is an intensive property. So what happens here? So for this equation, for this equation, your EMF of the cell is equal to x volt. If you multiply the reaction also, the EMF of the cell is x volt, and it will not multiply. It is an intensive property, will remain the same. Students, this is a very important property. Okay, so, people are asking these questions frequently based on this concept. So it is an additive property, and this is not an additive property. How? See, A gives A2 plus giving 2 electrons, and A2 plus gives A3 plus 1 electron. So while summing up this equation, if this is one del G1 and this is del G2, to find out what is the Gibbs free energy change involved in this reaction, the Gibbs free energy change involved in this reaction can be directly obtained by summing up the values of these two values, while you cannot do that here. Because you see here, this is E1 and this is E2. You cannot find out the EMF of this reaction by summing up these two, because this is not an additive property. While in this situation, you may need to use this equation. You need to find out the del G, Gibbs free energy change involved in each reaction. Applying that equation separately, find out del G1 separately and use this equation. Okay, so we will do equation. Next question. If the EMF of the cell for a given reaction has a negative value, okay, which of the following gives a correct relationship for the values? The change in Gibbs free energy, standard Gibbs free energy, and chemical equilibrium. Okay, so equilibrium constant. See, they have given the EMF of the cell is negative. Okay, so what is the relation between the EMF of the cell and the standard Gibbs free energy change? It is negative. See, so I'm going to substitute this negative value. So negative into negative, so your del G will become positive. Okay, so here what is the relation between E naught cell and K equilibrium? This is the equation. So they have given that this equation is negative. See, students, these are all positive function, these are all constants. Okay, to make this as negative, your K equilibrium must be a fraction value, isn't it? Some decimals, because only log of any decimals will give you negative value. Okay, so your K must be a decimal. So decimal means what? It must be, your K must be lesser than 1. Okay, and del G positive means, it is greater than 0. So your first this question, so this is the question where we are going to apply that trick. No, I told you before. So given the copper 2 plus ion plus 2 electrons gives copper, its electrode potential is given, and copper 2 plus 1 electron, okay, gives copper plus ion. for this the EMF is given, electrode potential is given, we have to find out the EMF of this reaction. See, if we see this reaction, so if I label this reaction as A and this reaction as B, you can see that by doing A minus B, I will get this equation. Okay, to get the EMF of this, so this is E1, this is E2, this is E3. I cannot do this directly. I cannot do this directly because this is not an additive property. Okay, so for this what I have to do, I have to use this equation, del G naught is equal to minus NF E naught. So for this equation, so del G naught 1 equal to minus, how many electrons are involved in this reaction? N is equal to 2 here, 2 electrons are involved, and N is equal to 1 here, and N is equal to 1 here. Okay, these are the electrons involved in this equation. So minus 2 into, keep F as such. Okay, so E naught is equal to 0.337 volt. Okay, so volt is not needed here, so del G naught is equal to minus 1 into F into 0.153. okay, so your del G naught 3 is equal to, okay, so what I have to do, A minus B, so del G naught 1 minus del G naught 2, so minus 2F, so I'm not going to do the calculation, it will take time. Okay, so minus of minus is plus, so F 0.1. So you get this equation. What is del G naught 3, students? Minus NF E naught 3. So we have to find out this, so that will give the EMF of that equation, isn't it? So 0.52F. F gets cancelled, and N value is 1 here. N value is 1 here. So minus also get cancelled. So E naught 3 is equal to plus 0.52 volt. Okay, so the option is this one. Again, some concepts before entering into the other set of questions, so which is Faraday's first law and second law. So first so these are the favorite topics of the examiner students. So you need to know these, very simple only. Faraday's first law. Okay, so according to this law, what does it state? What does it says? See, suppose when you pass current to an electrolytic solution, to any electrolyte, the metal deposited on the electrode, the weight of the metal deposited on the electrode is directly proportional to the amount of the current passed or amount of the charge passed. Okay, so for example, if Zn2 plus, okay, if you pass current in zinc sulfate, Zn2 plus, so how many electrons are needed? You need 2 moles of electrons to reduce 1 mole. So you should read like this, students. For 1 mole of zinc 2 plus ion, you have to pass 2 moles of electrons to get 1 mole of metallic zinc. Okay, so what you have to know is what the charge of 1 mole of electron. 1 mole of electron is equal to 96,500 coulombs. You must know this, or which is equal to 1 Faraday. Okay, 96,500 coulombs, 1 Faraday, 1 mole of electrons. It is not charge of 1 electron, it is 1 mole of electron. Charge of 1 single electron is equal to 1.602 into 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. Okay, like that it will be. So you need to know this. Okay, so weight of the metal deposited is proportional to the quantity of the charge passed. So what is Q here? So Q here is the amount of the charge. So we use some battery, isn't it? We use some battery with some power, and for some certain time we used to pass. So it is I into T, where I is the strength of the current in amperes. Okay, and this is time in seconds. Okay, so if you use this equation, this will give you the amount of the charge in coulombs. Remember this. Okay, the Q is equal to I into T is a product of strength of the current into time in seconds, which will give you the value in coulombs. Okay, so what is that proportionality constant? The weight of the metal deposited is proportional to Q, so the proportionality constant is equal to Z. Z is electrochemical equivalent. What is that electrochemical equivalent? It is E divided by 96,500 coulombs, okay, or E is equal to E divided by 1 Faraday. What is E? It is the equivalent. It is the equivalent mass of the metal. It is the equivalent mass of the metal. So these are very important. Go stepwise, it will be very easy. Q is equal to I into T. So what is equivalent mass? How will you obtain that? So it is atomic mass or molecular mass. Atomic mass or molecular mass divided by valence factor. Don't worry about the valence factor for all the metal ions. For all the metal ions, valence factor for metal ions is equal to charge over it. For zinc sulfate, okay, the charge on zinc is zinc 2 plus, so the valence factor for zinc is equal to 2. Okay, it is, you have to just take the charge on that particular metal, that's all. Okay, valence factor. So I'll substituting atomic mass or molecular mass, okay, if it is an depending on the situation. So this is what valence factor into 96,500. See, suppose if I'm bringing this weight divided by atomic mass or weight divided by molecular mass is what? Weight divided by atomic mass or weight divided by molecular mass is equal to, is nothing but the number of moles, isn't it? Is nothing but the number of moles. So you see how many equations you have. You may be using this equation for sure. It constantly is asked, okay, and this equation is very important. And one more thing, this equation is very important. If they are asking the atomic mass of the unknown metal, you have to use this equation, okay. The valence factor will be given in such case. Suppose they are asking straight away, they are asking the number of moles, you have to use this equation. So these are very, very, very important. So don't worry, we are going to do problems on it. Next question, when 0.1 mole of MnO4 2- is oxidized, the quantity of electricity required to completely oxidize. So this is the equation you have to write. See, MnO4 2- is converting to MnO4-. See here the manganese, you have to focus only on the manganese. This is in +6 oxidation state and this is in +7, so it is an oxidation process, so whereby you will get 1 electron. Okay, so you must calculate like this. For 1 mole of MnO4 2-, you need to oxidize completely. To oxidize completely 1 mole of MnO4 2-, you need 1 mole of current. So 1 mole of current, what is 1 mole charge of 1 mole of current? This is 1 mole of electron, so 96,500 coulombs. So for 0.1 mole, you need only 0.1 mole of electron. So that will be 9,650 coulombs. So it's very simple, no students. Next question. The number of electrons developed at the cathode during electrolysis by a current of 1 ampere and in 60 seconds. Okay, so this is also very simple. So we are going to use this formula. Q is equal to I into T, where I is equal to 1 and this is equal to 60. This is 60 seconds. Be careful, if the time is given in minutes, you have to convert to seconds, or hour, you have to convert to seconds, and then you have to use this formula. Okay, so this is equal to what? 60 coulombs, but they are asking the number of electrons. So you know that 6.023 into 10 to the power, this is 1 mole of electrons or present in 96,000. Can the charge of 6.023 10 to the power of 23 electrons is equal to 96,500 coulombs. Now this is what? 60 coulombs. So you have to calculate how many electrons. Just to do the cross multiplication. Divided by this. If you do this calculation, the answer is 3.7. So during the electrolysis of molten sodium chloride, the time required to produce 0.1 mole of chlorine gas using a current of 3 amperes. See, moles is involved. So which equation I am going to use here? So this equation I am going to use here. Okay, so the number of moles is equal to current into time divided by valence factor into 96,500. So what is this molten sodium chloride, students? Without water. Okay, so it is like some dissolved, it's not dissolved, some melted sodium chloride. So when you pass current to it, what happens? Sodium, so Na plus will get reduced to sodium and chlorine will get oxidized. So what is the equation? Chlorine ion, 2 chlorine ion, chlorine will get, this is an oxidation reaction, you are going to get chlorine. See, we are speaking about the chlorine gas. We have to find out the valence factor for this equation, entire equation. How many electrons are involved? So for this entire chlorine, the valence factor is equal to 2 here. Okay, so let's substitute. So the moles is equal to 0.10. okay, so the what is the time they are asking? The I is given, this is 3 amperes time you have to find out, and valence factor is equal to 2 and 96,500. okay, so when you do it, first you will get in seconds, in seconds, but the answer is given in minutes. So what you have to do, divide that answer by 60, you will get in minutes. So the answer will be 107, but which is very closer to 110. So this is okay. So what, students, if you solve this equation, you will get the answer in seconds. Okay, so you have to divide that by 60 to get in minutes. So I got the answer 107, so which is very closer to 100. So next question, the weight of silver displaced by a quantity of electricity which displaces 5600 ml of oxygen at STP will be. Okay, so this question is based on Faraday's second law. So what does Faraday's second law takes place? Tells us, see, when we have two different materials, if we pass parallelly the same amount of current, okay, so the weight of the material displaced, will be proportional to its equivalent mass, So in this case, we are passing same amount of current. The amount of oxygen displaced by this amount of current is 5600 ml they have given. The weight has been given, but in volume. Okay, we have to convert that into weight. So by the same amount of current, what will be the weight of silver deposited, they are asking. Okay, so this is very simple, but they have given you a twist. But don't worry if you know the Avogadro's law. Okay, so the weight of silver displaced will be proportional to its equivalent mass, and weight of oxygen displaced will be proportional to its equivalent mass. So while combining, I can write W1 by W2 is equal to proportionality constant will get cancelled out, E1 divided by E2. Okay, so we have to find out this one. Okay, so this one is given but in volume. Okay, so E1 is what? Silver for silver, Ag plus the Van 't Hoff factor is 1, so the equivalent mass is same as that of the atomic mass. We know that the equivalent mass of oxygen is 8. How it is 8? The combining capacity with hydrogen. Here the combining capacity of oxygen is 8. Okay, see here, this is 16, this is 2. For one hydrogen it is 8. Okay, so the equivalent mass of oxygen is 8 here. So how to find out this? So before finding out this, you have to find out the weight of oxygen, which is given in ml. So 5600 ml of oxygen is liberated. You know that Avogadro's law, the 1 mole of oxygen, which is equal to 32 grams, will occupy 22,400 ml. Okay, this is Avogadro's law. So here 5006. So if you solve this, what the weight of the oxygen will be? The weight of the oxygen that got liberated will be 8 grams. Okay, so if you substitute this, so 8 by 8 divided by W1 by 8, 108 by 8 cancelled out, so W1 is equal to 108 grams of silver. Okay students, I hope you learned something, but please try all these problems. In the next video I will solve the solution for this. So these are all very important questions. Okay, so please try it. Please try it. In the next class I will give you the solution. Thanks for watching.